Welcome to the Photos of History channel. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos like this one. A pilot ejecting from a plane in 1962 be a dramatic and intense moment, capturing the high stakes and dangers associated with aviation and military operations during that era. By 1962, the ejection seat technology had become more advanced, allowing pilots to escape from potentially catastrophic situations. This era are during the height of the Cold War, and such incidents could occur during test flights, training exercises, or even combat missions. The image might show the pilot in mid-air, parachute deploying, as the plane either begins to go down or continues its flight without him. This scene represents the split-second decisions pilots had to make in life-or-death situations. Times Square in 1903 was far from the neon-lit hub of entertainment and commerce that it is today. At the turn of the 20th century, it was still in the early stages of its transformation from a relatively quiet area into the crossroads of the world. Mama Cat and Kittens Cross a New York Street, 1925. The streets of New York in the 1920s were filled with a mix of horse-drawn carts, early automobiles, and busy pedestrians, reflecting the vibrant and chaotic energy of the city during the Roaring '20s. Conrad Veidt, a prominent German actor of the early 20th century, is widely recognized as the inspiration for the iconic Batman villain, the Joker. In 1928, Veidt starred in the silent film, The Man Who Laughs, where he portrayed the character Gwynplaine, a man disfigured with a permanent grotesque grin. Men in traditional Dutch dress from 1900 capture a rich aspect of Dutch cultural heritage, reflecting the customs and everyday life of the Netherlands at the turn of the 20th century. The traditional dress worn by men during this period varied somewhat by region, but certain elements were commonly seen across the country. Waiting in a Greyhound bus terminal in 1969 encapsulate a unique moment in American history, reflecting the social and cultural shifts of the late 1960s. Greyhound bus terminals were a common sight across the United States, serving as a hub for travelers from all walks of life, whether they were embarking on long journeys across the country or shorter regional trips. A young George Clooney with his family in 1968 offer a nostalgic look at the early life of the future Hollywood star. Born on May 6, 1961, George Clooney would have been about 7 years old in 1968, growing up in a close-knit family in Kentucky. A futuristic baby stroller from West Germany in the 1950s be a fascinating piece of design history, reflecting the post-war era's optimism and fascination with modernity and innovation. In the 1950s, West Germany was experiencing rapid reconstruction and economic growth, often referred to as the Wirtschaftswunder or economic miracle. Woodward and Bernstein, Watching Nixon Resign, 1974s. Woodward and Bernstein were the Washington Post reporters whose investigative work on the Watergate scandal played a critical role in uncovering the truth behind the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters and the subsequent cover-up, leading to Nixon's eventual resignation. Early food truck, 1918s. During this period, these vehicles provided a novel way to serve meals to people in various locations. Compared to modern food trucks, these early models featured a much simpler design and were equipped with basic amenities, reflecting the technological and design constraints of the time. In 1965, buying a TV was a significant event for many households. Televisions were becoming more common, but they were still seen as a major purchase, often representing a family's entry into the world of modern entertainment. The TVs of this era were bulky, often housed in wooden cabinets, and featured black and white screens, though color TVs were beginning to gain popularity. The experience of buying a TV in 1965 would have involved a visit to an appliance store, where families could choose from a range of models often based on screen size, brand reputation, and features like UHF and VHF channel selectors. The Ladies' Scottish Climbing Club, established in 1908, is a significant milestone in the history of women in mountaineering. Founded in Scotland, this club was one of the first of its kind, dedicated to providing a space where women could pursue their passion for climbing and explore the rugged Scottish Highlands. At a time when mountaineering was largely dominated by men, the club offered women a supportive community to develop their skills and challenged societal expectations. The founding members were pioneers not just in climbing but in advocating for women's independence and outdoor adventure. Their legacy continues to inspire climbers today. Harvey Ross Ball, an American graphic designer, is best known for creating one of the most iconic symbols in popular culture. In the early 1960s, Ball was commissioned by a company to design a simple graphic to boost employee morale. The result was the bright yellow smiley face with black oval eyes and a wide curved mouth. Ball reportedly spent just 10 minutes on the design and was paid a mere $45 for his work. Little did he know, this cheerful symbol would go on to become a global phenomenon, representing positivity and happiness across generations. Despite the simplicity of the design, Ball's creation has had a lasting impact on popular culture and continues to be a universally recognized icon. Baby Elon Musk, 1970s. His early interest in technology, fostered by access to computers at a young age, laid the groundwork for his future endeavors in revolutionizing industries like space exploration, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence. World War II combat vet and entertainer, Smokey, 1940s. Smokey, a 4-pound Yorkshire Terrier, became a beloved and unexpected hero during World War II. Found in the jungles of New Guinea in 1944, Smokey was adopted by Corporal William A. Wynne of the U.S. Army Air Forces. Despite her small size, Smokey played a crucial role as both a war dog and a morale booster for troops. She accompanied Wynne on combat missions, helped run communication wires through dangerous areas, and even parachuted from planes. In the 1960s, country music legend Dolly Parton met and married Carl Dean, a man who would remain largely out of the public eye despite his wife's immense fame. The couple first crossed paths in 1964 outside a laundromat in Nashville, Tennessee, on Dolly's first day in the city. Carl, a quiet and private man, was instantly smitten with Dolly, who was just beginning her music career at the time. They married 2 years later on May 30, 1966, in a small private ceremony in Ringgold, Georgia. In 1968, the world got its first glimpse of a revolutionary new device, the computer mouse. This groundbreaking invention was introduced by engineer Douglas Engelbart during a presentation at what is now known as the mother of all demos. The demonstration, held on December 9, 1968, showcased a range of cutting-edge technologies, but the mouse stood out as particularly transformative. American Gothic, one of the most iconic paintings in American art, was created by Grant Wood in 1930. The models for this painting were Wood's sister, Nan Wood Graham, and his dentist, Dr. Byron McKeeby. Although the painting depicts what appears to be a farmer and his daughter standing in front of a Gothic revival-style house, the models were not related to the farming life. The Carousel Bar in Circus Las Vegas during the 1970s was an iconic and whimsical spot that captured the playful spirit of the era. Located inside the Circus Hotel and Casino, which opened in 1968, the Carousel Bar was designed to look like a merry-go-round, complete with rotating seats and vibrant carnival-like decor. In 1940s Dallas, car hop service was a popular and quintessential part of the American dining experience. These establishments were often staffed by car hops, usually young women, who would bring food and drinks directly to customers in their cars. A simple 1950s kitchen was a warm and inviting space, reflecting the post-war optimism and growing emphasis on domestic life. These kitchens were typically modest in size but filled with a sense of practicality and charm. In 1911, the concept of a blockbuster as we know it today was still in its infancy, but the year did see the release of several notable early films that captured the public's attention. One such film was The Lonedale Operator, directed by D.W. Griffith, a pioneering filmmaker of the silent era. Although the term blockbuster wasn't used at the time, The Lonedale Operator was a significant success and is often remembered for its thrilling narrative and innovative use of close-up shots, which were groundbreaking techniques in early cinema. A Picnic with Koalas in the 1950s evokes a charming and nostalgic scene set in the Australian bush or a wildlife park, where people could enjoy the outdoors and interact with the country's unique wildlife. During this era, Australia was promoting its natural beauty and distinctive fauna, and koalas, with their cute and docile nature, were a symbol of the country's allure. In 1880, the fascination with Victorian spirits and the supernatural was at its peak, reflecting the era's intense curiosity about the afterlife and the unseen world. This period saw a surge in spiritualism, a movement that held that the living could communicate with the dead. Spiritualism became a popular pastime among Victorians, particularly in England and the United States, who often attended seances and spirit photography sessions in hopes of making contact with deceased loved ones or learning about the spirit world. In 1905, a game of marbles was a beloved pastime for children across the world, particularly in Europe and North America. Marbles, also known as mibs or taws, were small, round objects made of glass, clay, or agate, used in a variety of games that required skill, strategy, and a bit of luck. A tap dancing class in the 1950s was a lively and rhythmic experience, capturing the post-war enthusiasm and the popularity of dance in American culture. During this era, tap dancing was a staple of entertainment, with famous performers like Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, and Shirley Temple, inspiring people of all ages to learn the art of making music with their feet. Tuskegee Airmen, adjusting a bomber's tank. By 1945, these skilled pilots and support crew members were involved in various missions across Europe, contributing significantly to the war effort. An image of the Tuskegee Airmen adjusting a bomber's tank is capture a powerful moment of teamwork, expertise, and determination. A 1930s roadside stand in Alabama be a quaint and nostalgic snapshot of rural American life during the Great Depression. These stands, often run by local farmers or small business owners, were a common sight along the highways and country roads, offering fresh produce, homemade goods, and a friendly face to travelers and locals alike. Wilbur's watches in the 1950s would evoke the charm and nostalgia of a classic mid-century American watch shop, a time when wristwatches were essential accessories for both men and women. In this era, watches were not just functional timepieces, but also symbols of style, craftsmanship, and status. Not wearing a mask. During the Spanish flu pandemic. During the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, wearing a mask became a common public health measure aimed at preventing the spread of the highly contagious influenza virus. However, not everyone complied with these guidelines, and scenes of people not wearing masks were common, reflecting the mixed responses to health directives at the time. In 1912, testing a football helmet would have been a rudimentary but important process, reflecting the early days of American football when player safety was becoming a growing concern. At the time, football was a rough and often brutal sport, with minimal protective gear and injuries were common. Helmets were just beginning to gain acceptance, evolving from simple leather caps to more structured designs intended to provide better protection. Helen Keller, the renowned author, lecturer, and activist who was both deaf and blind, met Charlie Chaplin, the legendary silent film actor and comedian, during a visit to Hollywood. This encounter between two iconic figures of the early 20th century was a moment of mutual admiration and curiosity, showcasing the intersection of their unique worlds. In 1937, George Orwell, the future author of 1984 and Animal Farm, was deeply involved in the Spanish Civil War, an experience that profoundly shaped his political views and future writings. His prodigious talent. At just 8 years old, Reshevsky was already playing against seasoned masters, astonishing everyone with his skill and strategic prowess. His early achievements set the stage for what would become a legendary career. Reshevsky's ability to outthink and outplay his opponents was nothing short of extraordinary, and his story remains an inspiring chapter in the history of chess. Child laborer, 1910s. At the turn of the 20th century, child labor was widespread, particularly in industries like textiles, mining, and manufacturing. In such a photo, you might see a young child, often no older than 10 or 12, working in harsh conditions. The child might be engaged in tasks such as operating machinery, carrying heavy loads, or performing repetitive manual labor. Woman posing as Humpty Dumpty. The photo of a woman posing as Humpty Dumpty is a fascinating glimpse into historical photography. It's a whimsical, yet intriguing snapshot that showcases the playful and creative side of early 20th century photography. Peter's Hardware, Valentine, New Hampshire. This photograph transports us to a quaint corner of early 20th century America. Peter's Hardware was a cornerstone of its community, providing essential tools and supplies to local residents. The image captures the essence of small-town life, where businesses like Peter's Hardware were not just shops, but vital social hubs. The store's charming facade and vintage signage evoke a sense of nostalgia and remind us of the importance of community-centered businesses in shaping